Now, all of this can be very delicate for teachers, particularly teachers who've been schooled in traditional education, where what we learn as students is, in most cases, that the teacher is the authority figure, that her word is law, and we should do what the teacher says. Under pragmatism, with its emphasis on democracy and the themes of equality, how the teacher interacts with students should be dramatically changed. And one of the things that the pragmatists insist upon is that the teacher should not elevate herself to a position of authority, certainly not an authoritarian, right, kind of authority. Instead, he or she should be a facilitator as much as possible and having the students do their own hands-on project and internalizing the working. Nonetheless, there does need to be a role for a teacher here, and how the teacher facilitates is in many cases a delicate matter here. Let me give you one example that I remember having a debate over at a conference, and in the group of students, group of teachers and other education professionals who were at this conference. There's a fairly quick split over how to handle the situation, as I put it forth, between those who were strongly committed to a pragmatic approach and those who were either realists or idealists. Or there were some other participants as well. But here was the scenario as I put it forward. Suppose, say, we have a group of students, and let's have them be middle schoolers. That is to say, they are around 12 years old or so. And you're working on a group in a group project, and there are 4 of them. And we have an interdisciplinary project that they're working on, and it's nonetheless a project that, say, they'll be working on over the course of a month or so. It's a relatively long-term project with many stages. And they're partway through the process, and they've reached a stage in the project where they have to do some mathematics. They've gotten some results, but they have to do some mathematical calculations, and then depending on what those results are, they will then go in this way with the rest of the project, or take this alternative route with the rest of the project. So the students are working away on this, and you as the teacher notice that one of the groups seems to be getting into a somewhat heated argument. So you drift on over as the teacher to get a sense for what's going on there and see whether an intervention is necessary or not. And it turns out that in this group of 4 students, they're having an argument over the right way to do some mathematical calculations in this project here. And 3 of the students are quite insistent that the right way to solve the mathematical problem, say, is this particular way, and that there is this particular answer is the right answer to the mathematical problem. And there's one student who is quite insistent, rather, that that's not the right way to do the mathematics. This is the right way to do the mathematics, and the correct answer that the group should achieve is this other answer over here. You, from your teacherly perspective, knowing the math quite well, know that the 3 who are in the majority have made a mistake. They've made a mistake in the calculation, a methodological error, and so correspondingly the result that they've reached is incorrect. And in this case, the one student has done the mathematics correctly, and the answer that he has reached is in fact the correct answer here. Now then the question is, having assessed the situation at this point, what should the teacher do? And the point of the example, of course, is to say, do we take the more traditional model, which is to say, we believe there are such things as right answers, there are such things as correct methods to use in achieving right answers, particularly in mathematics. The job of the teacher is to teach those proper methodologies to the students. And so if the students are making a mistake, it's the teacher's job then to correct the students and guide them in the direction of proper methodology and the proper answers, in which case, in this particular instance, the teacher would step in, correct the 3 students who have made an error, and side with the single student who has done things correctly. If, however, we take the pragmatic themes, we're more likely to be resistant to that approach, because that is much too top-down, that's much too absolutist, that's much too teacher inserting herself as the authoritarian figure who comes along to save the day, and that's not the right kind of modeling that we want to do socially in education. So what we're more likely then to say is, as the teacher, we might say if the debate has been getting a little bit heated there, the teacher will insert herself into it in a facilitating diplomatic role. She might say, all right, you single student over here, why don't you try explaining again your mathematical procedures and see if you can convince the three. And then she might say, all right, you three, what do you think of that? Why don't you guys try again explaining your way of doing the mathematics to this individual student who is currently dissenting. And you would then hope that through that process of dialogue and discussion, they then might reach a consensus, right, one way or the other. The single student might convince the three, and the three might convince the one. Then you reach a democratic consensus, and the group can then, move forward. But here's then going to be the follow-up problem. What happens if you do that diplomatic exercise, this student sticks to his guns, these three students over here also stick to their guns, and the process reaches a gridlock?